Order. Let's start with the allegiance. It's not very there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Tracy, roll call if you would please.
Don Silvervilla.
Here.
Schmidt. Absent Joe Underwood.
Here.
That's absent Brad Jewett.
Here.
And Richard Cochran.
Here.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Any interested party or person may address the board of any matter of BATA concern during public comment. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes and a 1-minute warning will be given when needed. Any public comment that becomes disruptive, unduly repetitive, or impedes the orderly progress of the meeting may be terminated by the proceeding officer. Once you have completed your public comment, the board may ask any clarifying questions. If needed, you will be assigned a member of BATA staff to follow up directly for any open concerns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed, placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If an item is now removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. Consideration of approving the following minutes: the regular board meeting minutes of April 25th, 2024, the study session meeting minutes of April 25th, 2024. Consideration of accepting the following reports: the LAC meeting minutes of April 29th, 2024, correspondence, staff compliments, April 2024 income statement. Any of the items removed, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or amended?
I would like to remove B.
Move B.
Remove B.
We would like to add that as a item.
No, we'll go under 7.
Right.
Items removed from the consent calendar.
Right. So it becomes 7A.
That being said, there's no other, I make a motion that we approve the minutes and the consideration of the reports.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 7A, which is on the
7.
7. Clear at
I just wanted to, I don't have a problem with the minutes, but on item 2 and item 6, my last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, okay.
So with that being said, I would make a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of April 25th, 2024 with the appropriate corrections.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Kelly, quickly on to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have Jerry give his facility report so that we can get him
We move over here, sign
out on the road because he's leaving from here to catch a plane.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. Current update, so a lot of work has happened over the last month. We've got on the inside of the building, carpet, millwork, counters installed, lockers, the window blinds that started to get installed. Bus wash, we've got the casket in place, concrete storage underneath the actual bus wash installed. We'll continue putting plumbing, backfill, and was capped with concrete. And the equipment itself is ready to ship out. Anticipate that mid-June. We're doing the EFS, which is that drive it on the exterior soffits. That's continuing. Should have that wrapped up over the next couple of weeks. And if you've driven by lately, the trees have been planted. It's starting to take shape on the site. For upcoming work, we're going to schedule the asphalt for the transfer station that first week of June. And then we'll follow behind with the operations center asphalt and striping probably around the June 19th through the 21st. And bus wash equipment I mentioned already is on its way for mid-June. The signage package, we did receive 2 quotes and we awarded that to Image 360. They're going to start fabrication with the intent of it installed by the end of July. That'll include a ground mounted sign on Hammond, 2 wall signs on the operations center, relocating one of the signs from gas to the transfer station. Then we're going to hold off on the ground sign for the Ranger, just because there's multiple partners on that one, with TCLs and commercial development, so we might coordinate that with them down the road. Light poles, they started to install those. They'll finish up the landscaping. We're looking at doing the final construction thing in June 10th. There'll be some punch list items that'll follow, but generally speaking, it's still tracking ahead of schedule and under budget. It's shaping up very nicely up there.
With the situation from yesterday up on the transfer station, is there any,
Right.
you know, it's very early, so we're,
Yeah, so what happened yesterday is they started to pour concrete for the island at the transfer station. They got away from them. Basically, it cured too fast with the wind, with the sunlight. So what happened is they lost part of the pour that has snow melt underneath, tubing inside the concrete. So unfortunately, it's just not easy to just remove the concrete. Now we've got to get new snow melt tubing. And we've got possibly a new manifold that we have to install too. So it's not good news, but it's nothing obviously that intentionally happened. It just they didn't plan it out. Surely didn't have enough manpower. So it's going to be ripping it out, evaluating a bunch of stuff. But generally speaking, that is one of the drawbacks.
and in the meantime, we'll delay using that transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a walkthrough yesterday. It's amazing. Yeah, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really taking shape.
Yeah. That's good, and that's really the first major issue we've had on the project.
Right, we've had some minor ones, but nothing to this.
Yeah.
They felt bad about it, but 40 yards of concrete.
Like Ryan was the one that's come through it.
And he's a superintendent with Chris, and he takes everything personal. Maybe it's just sick to the stomach. That happened, but
Yeah,
if they hadn't gone ahead and tried to put the control joints in by hand, instead came back the next day and saw them, probably could have been accepted. But it just couldn't. There's ways to the control units. Just didn't turn out the way it should have.
yeah, that's,
Right. Yeah.
but we were also having some difficulty with getting the public infrastructure turned over to the township, and Brad helped us with that this week, so just wanted to make sure that everyone else knew that that's really helpful and is on a better path forward now, so I think they'll be accepting that, and that's a very important piece.
All the sewer water accepted so that we can get the last of the tie-ins for the other developments that will be British 45, church, TC House.
And we definitely see about, so.
TC Housing's on schedule for June 22nd.
Whatever that Monday is, 24th, I think.
It's like 4th of July for.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I just have to look at the calendar. I think that they're,
My first year, my 4th, I don't remember.
I know
They-
at the end of June.
yeah, their finance closes on the 21st, which is a Friday, which means the groundbreaking is on Monday, the 24th. And they feel pretty solid about that date, even though closing dates tend to shift a lot, but.
Is there any questions you might have? Richard, thank you for saying. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll ask her, I'll just get married.
Congratulations.
I'm next year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Yeah.
Then I also wanted to introduce Rich Cherry. He's our new attorney that has been working with us since the Board of Get back up.
I just feel like I'm being rude.
So Rich was in the area visiting family, and so he came to the meeting just to meet all of us in person. And Rich, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, you asked me, Commissioner, or John asked me, where I was from. I'm originally from Kalamazoo. And I think the last time I saw you, our technology wasn't working well, and so so I was in actually Grand Rapids, and I'm not familiar with that system, so ours is a little bit more user friendly. But yeah, apologize for that. But I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I used to be deputy city attorney for City of Kalamazoo when the city did have a public transportation system. And now I'm with Miller Johnson, and we also represent City of Kalamazoo, Central City, we call it Metro, but Central County Transit Authority. So new name, so I just call it Metro. Yeah. And it also has KTC, so that's a different story. So we won't talk about that. But yeah, my father-in-law lives in Traverse City, so we visit here every year. My best friend moved from Kalamazoo area to be the superintendent, where I go there walking tomorrow. Superintendent of Glen Lake, so we're out here all the time. So
Great.
So yeah, so it was a free drive for you. So
We like that. He's good.
yeah. So but yeah, if ever need anything, you know where to find me. So.
Thank you. Great to have you in person. Rich has been helping us with a number of different things related to the transition to small urban, the FTA requirements along that. Several of them require a legal opinion of the agency's ability to receive federal funds, and certifying different things in their systems online. And so he's been assisting with that and some of the real estate work with the purchase agreement of Diamond and easements associated with the new headquarters. And we've been looking for some guidance on implementing the Veterans Preference Act, which, as those of you that have been on the board for a longer time might remember the lawsuit that we had relative to the Veterans Preference Act, where the judge did rule that the Veterans Preference Act applies to all public employers. And so there's then a question of, well, what does that mean then when you have a veteran on your staff who is not performing, and how do you go about correcting that performance and all of those particulars? So we are the first transit system to have encountered that. Nobody knew that. Yeah, I know. I'm like, should we do a PSA to all the other transit systems? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see if that opinion holds, I guess, further down the road. But in the meantime, we have to comply with that. So getting some guidance on that.
And not doing all that work himself. Was that talented? But no, I have a good team behind me.
Yeah.
So, and Grand Rapids.
Right.
So many in Detroit, but kind of to Grand Rapids.
Yeah. So anyway, appreciate your assistance.
Yes.
Okay, you can sit down. You
Yes, ma'am.
Just sit right next. Right behind you.
Let's see, what else? I just wanted to draw a couple of highlights from my written report. I of course won't go through bullet by bullet, but on the purchase agreement for Diamond, we do have a scheduled closing date for that. That's July 15th. And that exit date from the facility is September 15th, so that left 2 months of leasing that back. So we're moving forward with that at this point. We're still in the due diligence period with the buyer.
Who was it that bought there?
Her last name is Tamina. And I think he's going to be placing it into an LLC, but it's not yet named. The mobility fellow. So we were hoping to have heard by now, but I think it's going to be next week before we get notified of whether or not we've been selected as a host site. But that's a really great opportunity to get a fresh set of eyes on our system. It's a position that would be paid for through the, I spelled it out here, good. Community Economic Development Association of Michigan fully pays for that position, and then we just have a $10,000 matching responsibility. If we are selected as the host site, we will look to have that $10,000 match covered by charities through a seed grant opportunity. So an opportunity to get another full-time staff person and put them on that project of the fare system replacement, which is it's got a lot of legs to that project. So it's a good one to have a souped up intern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then also, just wanted to draw your attention to next week's Smart Commute Week. Encourage everyone to try transit on Try Transit Day. We do have all of our, of course, board members ride free anytime. But on Try Transit Day, we offer our our loop routes are all free that day to encourage ridership of public transit. In addition to that, we host the Smart Commute Breakfast that day at our Hall Street station, and that's from 7 to 9. So if you can make it, we usually have about 300 people through there that morning. So it's a good day. And then with that, I think I'll invite Paul to give an update on our 5-year technology plan that the board had approved a few years back. Just as a level set of where we're at and that plan, and to bring those that weren't on the board at that time up to speed.
So I'll tee it off, and then Paul will take over and run through it.
Great.
So in your packet are the same slides that are up on the screen here that we'll run through. So as you may know, we've implemented a lot of technologies over the last 12 months, but then also over the last year and a half or so, and there's more on deck as well as we reach the end of some of the useful life of our current technologies and as we transition into our new facilities. So why did we put together a technology roadmap? One, because of Miller's requests for more technology from a rider perspective. A lot of our technology was reaching the end of its useful life. We put together a roadmap so that we could outline the different projects that we wanted to do, and BATA approved this initial roadmap. The board did back in February of 2021, and so far we've completed 4 of the 6 projects that are outlined. The initial plan was out till 2025, as when we rolled it out. So these were the initial projects that were identified, and just to reverse a little bit back, we used a consultant to help map out these technologies and identify high-level estimates based on what the projects were at the time. There were 6 different projects. There were 2 CAD AVLs, that's Project A and B. There was an automated planning software system, that's Project C, the automatic passenger counters, a fare system replacement, and a fleet and asset management program. Those were the ones that were identified, and those were the estimated costs. So far, we've completed A, B, D, and C. we've got, we'll go through what those projects are, but we've completed those and they've all come in under what our initial estimates were as far as budget goes. There is still 2 projects left, projects E and F that are there, the planning software and the fair system that we still have on tap, but will come in under what we originally estimated for those projects. So what have we completed so far? One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle was a whole replacement of our computer-aided dispatch and automated vehicle locator system on the fixed route buses. We didn't really have that technology on our vehicles before, and this has been fantastic for us to do real-time tracking, to get better ridership information, to just set up our fixed route buses to have more integrated technologies and more interactive features and things like that. It will be 12 months live on June 26th. So we haven't even reached a full year with this technology on board yet, but it's already been a fantastic addition, including the AVAs that we have on the buses, which are the automated vehicle announcements that kind of announce stop locations and public service announcements and things like that. So we did that on the fixed route side. At the same time, we also upgraded our whole demand response or on-demand system too on the link side. So that's the VIA technology. So we have new tablets in the buses. This is the ability for folks to schedule using an app. It uses a real-time algorithm behind the scenes to map out where the rides go, and it has really improved some efficiencies from that perspective for our buses. And it's made a better rider experience, and we even have room for making improvements on that further that we'll share with you guys down the road. But those are the 2 big projects that we rolled out. The other one that will be going live here in July is our fleet and yard asset management system. So this is what's going to help at the new facility, mapping and moving all the vehicles. For you guys that have visited out there, all the vehicles are going to be parked in line style as they come into the garage there. And so this is going to help us manage and map how those vehicles come in and out every day, what routes they're assigned to. It's taking a very manual process and automating it. That will definitely help as we get into that new facility there. And we're already, we've already gotten sensors installed and things like that, and it's really close to being online over at the new facility. And then the most recent one that we just wrapped up here in May was the addition of automatic passenger counters. Those are all installed on our vehicles now. They are the camera system that sits above the door and tracks all of our boarding and alightings. We're already seeing a lot more user-friendly data out of them. It's setting us up for our NTD collection, which is really important because now that we're a small urban, you have to have this type of reporting, and this technology helps us do that. We're already utilizing that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later down the road.
Eric, how does that work if somebody steps on the bus and for whatever reason they step right back off?
So if they have to fully cross the threshold, and then it wouldn't count them again.
No, so we'll count them coming on board and alighting as well, so on board and off board, but there's a threshold built into that calculation for that variance. So even the driver coming in and out, so if they were coming through there, I think Eric was at like a 4%.
That's 5%.
5%.
Okay.
So there's for that variance, a cover for those kind of situations.
Okay. So it'll kind of like null it out from that perspective.
Okay.
Yep. So the 2 projects that are, any questions on any of the projects that we've implemented so far? Okay. The 2 projects that are still left on the horizon, identified from the original technology plan, is an automated planning and scheduling software. We will be bringing this to the board in June with an official recommendation. But right now we are piloting a software called Remix. And what this does is it takes all of our routes and schedules and everything, and basically puts it into an online system that is easy to map out and guide what our timetables look like, who's assigned to which routes and services. It pulls in very good real-time data from not only the ridership data that we produce, but also demographic data that's in our round. So areas of like single households with only one car, or places of employment and things like that. So it also helps us map and plan out routes so that we are being as efficient and kind of maximizing our service delivery. So we're currently piloting that software right now, and it has become very, very handy from that perspective. It also helps us map out our GTFS feed, which is the thing that we feed into the other systems like Google and the Transit app and everything, so that they can see our bus information in real time. So that project is still on deck. And then the last one that Kelly just mentioned in her update is our fare system replacement project. And that one is a beast. Right now, we've got a gen fare system on our buses. It has reached its end of useful life. It's time consuming in repairing the fare boxes. The reporting system is not user friendly. There's a lot of it owes us nothing. Let's just say that it has come to fruition. So that is the project that's on tap for 2025. Is looking at what are we going to do to get our fare system up to speed and
why did you move that back? Why didn't it get done in 24? What was originally scheduled? When there was the schedule for 24?
The fare system was always for 25.
Just had the expense in 24, the earlier died.
I think I put it in the wrong column.
But, okay. Because I saw the million.
Oh. So we rotated two of the projects because we needed the fleet management system project up front for the new facility, and we moved the fare system back one a little bit farther. Yep.
Very normal question in business when these projects keep getting bumped back.
Yeah. So
that's why I asked you.
We shuffled it to prioritize to make sure that with the new facility, we had the fleet and yard management system in place. Yeah. Good question. All right, so that's from the original plan. I'm gonna hand it over to Paul, and he'll talk about what else we've been doing and what's on deck for the future.
So one thing we have done outside of the plan is Samsara, which is giving us GPS data for the telematics of all our vehicles. Basically, that connects to the vehicle's computer. So that gives us all the engine codes, that gives us fuel, it gives us location. So we can, on our smartphone, we can track everything that's going on with that vehicle. That also then inputs into our ticketing system in Fleetio. So if there's an issue on a vehicle, so say if there's an engine misfire, that'll go directly to the mechanics. They'll know that vehicle has an engine misfire while it's out on route, where the driver just sees the engine, the check engine light. So they can then say, we need that vehicle back. Or they can say, that vehicle's safe not to stay on route. Say if it's an O2 sensor or something like that. So that Samsara is doing that. It's been great for us. It also includes a panic button, because when we made some transitions, we didn't have the ability. We used to use the old panic buttons that would go through our old MDTs. But with the new systems, they didn't have a way to integrate a panic button for the drivers. So in case there's an emergency, they'd be able to hit this button. So we leveraged Samsara to do that as well. So now there's a button in the vehicle. So if they have an emergency, they can hit that button. So it's a great piece of software. We also implemented UKG. Ascentus was purchased by UKG, correct?
Correct.
They kind of merged, and so Ascentus was no longer available. So we moved into UKG. It gives us a lot more. Functionality, more management. The payroll, it's a lot easier for us to implement. Different changes on payroll. It has a bunch of different widgets and things that we can expand. It's a more expandable kind of service, where Ascentus was pretty much wasn't getting developed anymore. It was just dying there. So we switched to UKG. Ascentus was no longer supported. Fleetio, we switched to Fleetio for a digital DVIR. So the drivers can do their DVIR. Before we were using paper manifests, so they would go in They mark little check boxes. They have transfer sheets. We transitioned it to a tablet, so now the drivers would just pull a tablet. They can do all their post trips right on a tablet. It's instantly sent to the mechanics. So say if a driver comes in and their wiper is not working, they can literally put wiper is not working. The mechanic will see it. They can say, okay, just pull around and then I will fix that wiper. Or if it's something bigger, say if it's leaking a fluid or something like that, then the driver can note that. We have full accountability of that, and the mechanic can then say, well, we're going to swap your bus because that's a out of service criteria. So everything's in real time now, where before it was on paper and it had to do with two-way radios, and everything now is digital and instantaneous through Flevio. The good thing about Flevio as well is in the past we've utilized RTA for our meet management. It's a software that we invested a little bit of money into because they had made a promise of being able to do an online. So typically we had it hosted on our own network. We moved to the cloud on a lot of these services, but with RTA, they made a promise that yes, it's fully cloud, it's fully baked, but actually it's really not. So we looked at Flevio as a possible option to do the DVIR and transition our fleet management into Flevio, which you can do it with an annual savings of about $10,000 per year shifting to Flevio from RTA. So it gives us a lot more functionality. It's cloud, it's not on our own network, and it saves us $10,000 a year. We're in the process of working on that transition because we still have a contract with RTA, but we are actually compiling everything that they promised and everything they haven't delivered. So therefore we can dispute that contract in the future and move into Flevio and get those savings. Agency validation and NTD certification. Eric talked about that a little bit. I think we're still looking at 3 different vendors to do that.
It's on the agenda for today. Yeah.
So that's something we'll be looking at, and that's where those HVCs were beneficial with GMV installing those to get an actual count of who is boarding and the lighting with the actual data. IMGIS. This is going to be our facility tracking for all of the air handlers. It's basically a 3D representation of the new building. And then we can actually put service schedules, all the information. So, serial numbers, all that kind of information onto those devices in a visual representation. So you can go in and just walk through and let me click on this air handler. Oh, that air handler needs to be serviced, and it automatically sends updates and alerts to, the facility managers. Phone system, we're actually working on getting, we have a meeting tomorrow to discuss the 2 options that we went through. I've gone through probably 7 or 8 different demos of phone systems to switch to a cloud-based phone system for beta. The issue we have is our current system is a on-premise device. It's the Mitel system. It uses SIP trunks, and you pay for your SIP trunks. So we have 24 SIP trunks at beta. So the cost of a traditional PBX system versus these cloud-based is another big savings going to these cloud-based, and we don't have to house it on our servers. So if we have any network outages at beta, our phone systems won't go down. Basically what we can do is we can take a hotspot like I have here, put our dispatch, log into the hotspot, we're back up and running within seconds, where in the past we've had some issues with our servers going down and it takes our phone system out. And we have no real backup because our server is what's really, generating that phone system through the PBX and the SIP trunks.
We still have phones, everybody's desks.
Yes. Yeah, so everybody's gonna have desk phones, but they're also gonna have the soft phone functionality, so on their computer as well, so they can transition between the 2.
And it seems like that would start to go away.
It's heading that way very quickly.
With a phone at their house anymore.
Yeah, most people are transitioning.
I can remember, putting in new phone systems was very expensive.
Correct, and that's a traditional model. So the traditional PBX model, very expensive up front. With these new models, now it's either you can rent the phones and they try to put it over contract terms. So some I get up front where if you buy the whole system, it's only $10,000. You buy it up front and then pay annual costs. Or you can pay a $400 setup fee and then just pay every month about $1,000 a month for that phone system. for everybody through
What does
Beta.
that fall under the? Is that an operating expense then? Is that an original budget for?
It wouldn't be a capital.
It wouldn't be a
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
All right, thank you.
And then moving into the new building, with our older switches and technology in at CAS today, and implementing cameras between hall and all the upgrades we need so UV-Sense has some very strict computer requirements for the computing power it needs. So we're going to upgrade our servers. We're going to transition to solid state storage for our backups, as well as some cloud-based storage, which we currently do now as well. But the solid state's going to help us because the spinning disks are going away. As we all know, not many computers have spinning disks anymore, but a lot of our technology in beta currently is all spinning disk. And they're all around 8 years, like 5 to 8 years old, which typically spinning disk life expectancy is right around 5. So we're just waiting for the moment of maybe having a failure. The good thing is we have redundancy, but we've seen that we need to make those upgrades. Integrated security cameras and door controls. So we'll have one interface that will give us cameras and door controls. So therefore, if we see a door has been accessed that should have been accessed, we can actually see the person who accessed that door in real time. We can also there is some AI integration that's coming down the road. So we can actually set like the cameras to look and see, okay, if you see a FedEx truck pull in, alert Tracy that the FedEx truck is here. So we can do those kind of integrations as well going forward. And it's not an added cost for a lot of those. It's built into the system. We can also count people coming in and out of Hall Street. We can create little lines through the doors. And then we can have a real good accountability of knowing, okay, how many people came through Hall Street today? How many, and get a good pulse on what's happening at these locations. What doors being used, who's coming in, who's coming out. We're talking about digital upgrade for our radio interfaces. So currently we're using, we have through GT Mobile, we have our two-way radios. This digital two-way radio interface basically is going to take those radios and put everything into the computer. There'll be a console in front of the dispatcher, so they'll actually be able to answer the phone call and have the radio at the same time and coordinate, where right now they're kind of toggling between the two, which is it takes a lot of time, and it's not very convenient for the dispatchers. So that's something else we're going to be upgrading as well. Of course, we're getting fiber internet to the new locations. That fiber internet's coming through Peninsula Fiber, which Peninsula Fiber, I guess, does all the 911 for the state of Michigan. So it has a great uptime, and their prices were astounding for running fiber underground into those locations. So just to get fiber from the corner into CAS was $1,200, and they're going to bore it all the way into the side of the building by the maintenance side, and then we're going to run it over to conduit. And then to get fiber into the transfer station, it's going to be, I think it was $300 to go down to there. So it was unheard of the price. So we signed those contracts as quick as we could. So it's, and then future technology, I don't know if many people know, but Windows 10 is reaching end of support in October 2025. So we need to switch to Windows 11. A lot of our computers are ready for Windows 11, but we do have probably maybe 10 to 12 computers that are not capable to run Windows 11. They're just older processors, older memory. Another project we're looking at is Cradlepoint for our vehicles. We have the Cradlepoint routers in all of our buses, in all of our fleet. That's what gives the Wi-Fi, all the devices that Eric showed before, so the GMV, VIA, all utilize that connectivity to our network. So we need to upgrade those. They're right now they're 4G LTE. So we want to future-proof those to get to 5G. And then we're looking at, and then they're at end of life in 2029. They're no longer selling them. So even if we need to replace one that was faulty, we would have to, purchase an upgrade to that. So we've marked that for 2026 as a possible plan for upgrading those cradle points. Bus camera system in 2027. Again, a lot of our older buses they're all spinning discs in the vehicle. So think of a battle rattling bus. You have a spinning hard drive in a bulkhead, and a lot of times we'll have an accident, we'll have something on a bus happen. We'll go to pull that hard drive out and we'll go and there'll be no data on that hard drive. Either because it just didn't record because of the vibrations, or whoever put it back in had a specific lock and it wasn't locked properly. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of room for improvement there. The new system we're looking at would be all solid state drives, and we would be able to remotely log into these devices from any computer. So we can go into that vehicle. So if something's happening in real time, we can go into that bus and pull up the cameras and look at it. Or if law enforcement needed something, we can just share that file to them instantly. Versus where we had to pull get the vehicle back, pull the drive, put it into some problematic software, and then hope that the data is there, convert it to a file type, and then send it off. Where this is all in one. So we marked that for replacement in 2027. And that would be a lifesaver for our operations team. And then going into NTD data, they need to, there's added cost if we need to actually pull drives and do verifications on our NTD verifications. So this would make it so much easier and save so much time on the operations side, where we can just go into that, download that bank. So they'll say we need this vehicle during this length of time just to check how many people came on and off to verify. And we can do that much easier in that system. And then a couple other things we've been looking at is vehicle tablet replacements. Typically tablets will have a life expectancy of like 3 to 4 years. So we did just get this stuff installed, GMV and VIA. GMV uses relatively really good grade tablets, so that may be a little longer off. But VIA tablets, they're your standard Android tablet. They don't use much computing power, but as we go further out, we don't know what the security support will be for those devices, because typically they like to upgrade those on a 3 to 4 year plan. So we're looking at those. Head sign and marquee integration. Right now for our head signs, what happens is the driver will go in and will have a little control, and they can set that manually. What this integration would do is basically the driver goes in, they log into their tablet. As soon as they log into their tablet, their bus shows what they're logged in as. So it takes that away, because we want to simplify the driver's experience so the driver can focus on driving and not have to worry about, integrate going into the tablets and doing all this stuff with our technology. We're trying to minimize all that input, because what's happening is the driver goes in, they start to get overwhelmed. Like, we want them to just focus on driving the bus, not like, okay, well, I need to do the head sign, I need to do this, I need to log into this, I need to do my DVIR, I need all this, and all this technology is becoming overwhelming. We want to kind of simplify it and try to make everything integrate into one. And that's what our goal is, just make it simpler for them and make it more convenient. ABC and NTD recertification. So again, every 3 years we need to get that recertified. So financial software upgrade, we're currently working in QuickBooks, and we've had some issues with QuickBooks and its abilities and its constant updates as well. But so we're looking at possible updates for QuickBooks into something that would be more suitable to Beta's needs. Right now, we're making QuickBooks work for us, but it really is not the ideal solution for our accounting. And then rider experience improvements. We're looking at onboard charging stations, onboard stop and location, digital signage, anything we can do to make the experience for the rider better and give them all the tools they need. And when they get on the bus, they feel confident that they can get off at their next stop and not be overwhelmed again by the technology.
And so what we'll do with so this is just a high level overview of what's out the next 5 years after we wrap up the first plan. We'll come back to the board with what we did the first time around of, here are the projects, the priorities, here are the cost estimates of what we think these are going to cost, here's what we think our funding scenario will be for those, and we'll bring a full new plan to the board for board approval for another 5 years out from there. But we just wanted to share kind of high level what the next set of technology looks like.
Any questions?
No, That's awesome. You're looking out that far, you know, to 2028. I mean, this is real nice to have here, like onboard, charging station. I wouldn't be in that camp, but you guys are, you're in the technology, so,
You try that phone.
yeah, absolutely. I would expect to be charging my phone all of the funds, right? So maybe they'll have, you know, capacity to get it charged, right? So, but yeah, looking out forward like that. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, I look at a lot of this, it's like, how much of this is stuff we're throwing away that we already approved in the past 5? Is there some, because I know technology just changes so fast, right? It's just changing so fast, and it's, you know, it's too bad that we didn't have stuff that we probably just got done paying for, and all of a sudden now we're gonna replace, or is it, are we pretty?
If anything comes to mind that would fit that
Okay.
description.
Yeah, no, because even like our fare system, our current fare system, we've been getting parts from other transits just to rebuild our transit, our stuff in house, because it's our fare system's no longer supported.
Yeah,
So therefore, what we do is we reach out to other transits, say, are you getting rid of that? Can you send it to us? We'll use those parts, and we've rebuilt full fare boxes just to save money. And as we're getting more vehicles, what we're doing is rebuilding them in-house. Because GenFare, the company we use for our fare system now,
Yeah.
they charge us $1,500 just to talk to me on the phone.
Yeah.
Like if I say, I have this error on this fare box, what does this mean? They go, oh, wait, you don't have any money on your account. You need to send us a check for $1,500. Then we can talk to you about what that issue is. So it's a terrible company. So we're getting away from that.
We're a lot cheaper than that.
Do you have any fare system expertise?
Right.
No?
How many times have you been able to say that? Cheaper than that.
So you can tell I work with it every day. So it's,
Yeah.
it's.
None of us will be sad to see John Fair go.
No.
Good job, Paul.
Yeah.
Any other questions or Paul or?
I know it's a lot.
It is a lot. There's a lot going on with technology, and you do a great job, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, chairperson's report. Just want to say that we did a tour of the facility yesterday, walking room. It's absolutely amazing. It is unbelievable what has been accomplished in such a short period of time. I mean, everything is just unreal.
It's really unbelievable how much they get done in a week.
I think they're moving right along.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the facility.
Yeah,
I think everything, yes.
running into each other in the hall constantly and tripping over each other and running buses into signs and on the property. It's a very tight fit where we are right now. So it will be great to have more space.
So, on the old business, is done. New business. We have the 2024 tax rate request resolution. Do I have a motion to approve the rate?
You know, have Justin tee it up.
Well, yeah, if you want to, yeah, Justin, go ahead. That'd be a good
Yeah,
idea.
I'll go through the resolution real quick. This is the approval request for 2024 tax rate. This on the next page in your packet is the L4029. Whereas the Bay Area Transportation Authority was created pursuant to the Michigan Public Transportation Act of 1986, PA 196, to provide public transportation in Grand Traverse and Leelanau counties. Whereas on November 8th of 22, the voters of Grand Traverse and Leelanau counties approved the renewal of the original 0.5 millage and establishing the maximum allowable millage rate of 0.4788. The authority is authorized to collect property taxes in Grand Traverse and Leelanau counties. Listed below that is where we have collected summer tax roll and winter tax roll, and just goes into how we use those funds throughout the year. And then towards the end here, therefore be resolved that at a regular meeting of board directors of the authority held on this 30th day of May of 2024, that this authority, in accordance with the Truth in Budgeting Act, hereby makes its intentions known to issue the maximum allowable millage levy of 0.4726 mils in 2024. So the L4029 lists the 2024 taxable values of all properties. We've seen, I believe it was between a 7 and 8% increase in taxable values in both Grand Traverse and Lima County, for which we levy taxes. And so the information here is just for our operating. Again, approved November 22, maximum election at 0.5. The maximum allowed at that time was 0.4788. Our current Headley millage reduction fraction, which takes into account tax values and inflation, and the numbers that are computed with that was 0.9872, which brings our millage max allow at 0.4726 for this year. And of course, that expires. This authorization expires December of 2027. So that's what we're asking for approval today.
Motion to approve the L4029 tax rate request as presented.
Support. Discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jessica. Eric, do you want to go over the public transit agency safety plan? Sure. It's required now because of Carter.
Right.
Yes. So, good afternoon, everybody. Just in case you don't know me already, I'm Eric Falcon. I'm one of the operations managers at BATA. I've been here since 2017. And give you a brief overview on our PTASP. Federal government loves their acronyms, so the PTASP, which is Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. It is now required, because we're direct reporters to the FDA as we transition into a small urban system. It also needs to be certified and submitted through the TRAM system before we're eligible to receive funding from the FDA, and that's via grants or just direct funding. So what is it? It's a living document that's intended to ensure accountability of all things related to public transit safety. It's designed so that as we go through and see new things that we want to account for on a safety level, that we have the processes in place to notice them, track them, adjust for them, and then make sure that we're following through on those adjustments, and that it's actually working out as we intended. So the things that the safety plan will cover are safety events. So injuries, collisions, fatalities, God forbid we ever have any here. Our fleet condition and the maintenance schedule, making sure that those are being adhered to. Our buildings and grounds, whether it's public facing or private facing, bus stops included in that, the route paths and locations, not just the on-site accommodations for the public. Trainings, so drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, the operations staff. Some new items that got added recently: transit worker assaults, a risk reduction process, de-escalation training, which we were already doing, and managing of security threats. Public agencies are wide open for foreign people or foreign entities to create security threats. And so tracking that and making sure that we're safe there as well. We are required to annually review and make sure that we've followed through on what we said we're doing and that our safety benchmarks are being met. Self-certify it every year and make sure that we're eligible for funding. So how did we create this document? These were all practices and policies that we had. They were just in different places. So we had to consolidate it into a safety plan to a format that they would approve and be able to submit it. So if you're looking at the packet, if you go to number 3, that one's labeled safety performance targets. These are predetermined targets that they want reported on every year. We just have to separate them by mode of transit. So MB is motor bus, which is fixed route. BR is demand response. That's our link service and our agency. And these are the fiscal year 23 metrics that we have included in the safety plan right now. They're all really good. I just want to really highlight the fact that we were already a performance-based culture. We were already tracking all of these items. Nothing had to be created in order to meet this standard already. Move on to section 4, the safety management policy. This describes BATA's commitment to providing a safe environment, supporting a robust safety culture, and achieving a high level of safety performance. The details of this describes the roles that key staff play to achieve effective safety management. And key staff is everyone from high-level management down to frontline staff. Everybody's roles have a definition to what their jobs are in order to have a full safety culture at BATA. Section 5 talks about safety risk management. So we've got safety hazard identification, safety risk assessment, and safety risk mitigation. And once again, all of these target what personnel have to do or things that have to do with fixed assets or rolling stock assets, as well as the system as a whole. Are the routes running, safely? Are they on roads that we should have stops at? Any and everything safety related is monitored through the safety risk management. Section 6 talks about safety assurance. So this is our safety performance monitoring and measurement. This is making sure that we are being honest and that we are doing what we say we're going to do. So are we implementing our safety management system effectively? And it describes our processes, our performance measuring, how we're doing on our investigations, as well as on safety reporting, frontline safety reporting, as well as monitoring and reporting what we're actually doing. And then number 7 is safety promotion. And that describes our key safety targets for all departments with safety sensitive staff. It includes things like our safe hiring standards, our processes for training, whether it's new hire, recurrent training being things that we have them do every year. The LLC defensive driving training. We assign those every year to make sure it's top of mind, that they're staying on top of those things, as well as remedial training. So if somebody had a preventable accident, we're going to take some of our TAPCO trainings. We're going to reassign those and make sure that they focus on mirror usage during right turns and those kinds of things. And then safety communication. And I'd just like to highlight on the safety communication, we've got physical bulletin boards, we've got digital bulletin boards, we've got our monthly all staff communications meetings, we do email blasts. We really work hard at communicating how it is we're doing, what we need to improve on, what we're doing great on. It's important that the staff understands, their role and how safety starts and finishes all the way through the organization. That's a high-level overview of the safety plan. If you have any specific questions or clarifications you want, I'm happy to answer those.
This gets turned into the feds for the state or both?
It is required to go to the federal government. We will then give a copy to the NPO, and we can give MDOT a copy if we so choose.
Also on here, is it appropriate to have the Hammond Road address right now? The only reason I asked this is we don't have our CFO yet.
I was thinking ahead because it's actually the fiscal year 25 is when we're eligible for funding.
That's like
We will be in there.
That's what's giving a follow-up.
Yeah.
Good question.
It is, and they just double check that before we submit it.
Okay.
It's confusing the way that the federal funding is because it's this year for next year. So it's actually, right now, we're putting in the fiscal 24 funding, which of course we will use in fiscal 25.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure they didn't
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
the address.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not both of those.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've been having a similar discussion around, one of the other plans that's required to the transit asset infrastructure. And we don't own Cass anymore, but we still technically own Diamond. And we're not yet in the new facility, but should we, so we've been having that kind of, exploration on that, plan also, so. It is in that limbo,
Oh, we own the new facility. We're just leasing gas.
right?
So,
And by the time this goes anywhere, we'll just be leasing Diamond,
right.
so.
Yeah. So I would think I would think there would not be included in that. Yes, but.
Right. Yeah, yes, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So that one will be bringing, that one does not require board approval, but it does require, to be distributed to the board, so we'll bring that one at the June meeting for your acceptance, and then also to the deal. And other
Those would
points,
be- It requires approval by the board of directors, but that's what we're doing today, right?
the safety plan does, the transit asset management plan does not.
Eric, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the public transit agency safety plan as presented?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, yeah, just do that there. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's a lot of really nice work, so I got.
Yeah, thanks for doing
I've never seen one that detailed. Oh,
Everybody.
holy pieces of it.
Yeah.
Who did all that work? Who does all that?
Eric.
Really?
Eric here.
Did you like sequester yourself?
I had to close my door a lot.
Which
is not something I
That's a
did.
very unusual thing for him, so.
My door is almost always.
How do you have, the 23 scorecard next?
That,
You're not
no,
gonna talk about that, right?
no, that's actually part of the safety plan.
That's fine.
I'm just showing that we're,
But 24, didn't we change the ranking on safety, didn't it, for the
Yeah.
20 points?
Yes,
yes.
Okay.
so that is not in your.
I mean, you guys have done this good work.
Yeah,
Then you diminish his score from being 25.
well, I didn't, that was a board decision.
Have to look back, but yeah. So what do you need for?
No.
It's just really a reference document to say that this is one of the ways that we communicate our safety outcomes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Plus, we're still in 24, so we don't really have the final report.
right, we don't have a full year of 24.
No.
But that's also.
I was more than just giving a hard time about the reduction and its perspective.
They're all equally important.
Yeah.
Or somebody else really important.
Eric, if you will, the MTV validation under recommendation.
Yeah. So as you guys have had a lot of technology has been the theme today. As we discussed as we walked through the technology plan, we do have automatic passenger counters installed on our buses now, which is fantastic. But with new technology and also with the transition of becoming a small urban, the FTA requires additional documentation and certification of the ridership data that the transit agencies produce. And so with APCs, the NTD requires them to go through an extensive validation process. So we've explored a couple different ways. We've looked at what would happen if BATA took on this, but there are also vendors that do the NTD certification process for APCs as well that will basically do things from start to finish. So what it comes into play is we looked at, what resources do we have available, what experience is there, and how do we make sure that we get the most accurate data possible? Because the NTD reporting directly ties into our small urban transit funding model, which is required by the FTA. So we looked at 3 different vendors that all do some form or another of NTD certification. One was called BTA, the other one was called Hop Through, and then a third was TransTrack, and looked at their capabilities and their costs and things like that. And based on our research and demoing their products and looking at everything, our recommendation is to select Hop Through as the vendor to help certify our automatic passenger counters. And the reason that we selected Hop Through was they were the only vendor that would do the manual counting and validation for us. They will actually look through our video footage from our buses and count, because you have to do a manual count in addition to the digital data that you connect. I know, isn't it just layers and layers of additional processes that we have to go through. So they'll do the manual accounting for us. Hop Through also has a condensed timeline. We're hoping to be certified for fiscal year 25, which starts on October 1st. So they're able to complete this in a 4-month time window for us. Their year 1 cost, and this would just be for a year or a 1-year agreement with them. Their year 1 cost came in the lowest. They also have a lot of experience, and their user interface from being able to extrapolate the data is very user-friendly as well. So that's our recommendation, is to select Hop Through for a 1-year agreement. What our goal is that once we kind of go through this process and we get our knowledge, that when it's time to recertify again, we'll be able to do a lot more of it ourselves. As you saw in the timeline, we'll have to recertify again in 3 years. Every 3 years, you have to recertify. That we'll have the knowledge base and the know-how to do it ourselves the next time around. So that is our recommendation. If you have questions, thoughts.
No other vendors out there that do this?
These were the three main ones that we researched.
I'm thinking for the manual accounting part, but I mean, if we're gonna put $200 into it, that's gonna be significantly less than approximately $30,000 difference between these 2 vendors.
Versus us doing the manual accounting.
I mean, if we were doing it, it would not cost us $30,000 if we're gonna put $200 into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the issue for this year is just that it's new, none of us know what it really is requiring, how to go through the process, but using a vendor for the first year at least would be very helpful in gaining that knowledge and being able to do it ourselves in the future.
If I could, I just want to agree with that. I've read the manual twice on sampling and putting the plan together. If anyone's worked with federal systems in the past, you know that everything's ambiguous and there's not direct instructions on what you're to do. There's always that caveat like, well, figure this one out, how it works for you. On our first go around, I would prefer not to be in that boat where we're doing something incorrectly, investing all this time and effort, and then having to redo it because it's not certified.
Yeah. So it makes sense to have somebody walk you through it the first time. I mean, I think that's going to make you more efficient and make it correct. So having to backtrack and having wasted resources, time, and everything else, just finding out you're doing something wrong that you didn't realize.
And they've had experience getting approval in the past, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that worked for them.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve Hop Through to be the certifying
Do I have a second?
vendor.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So is this TransTrack in business? I mean, it should. I had a typo or something.
I don't know how.
That's like
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine with that.
They're not competitive.
It wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it's such a discrepancy. Let's see. Discussion with others, any?
Yeah, I have, two items I wanted to discuss with the board. One is the TCAP's bond proposal. We've been asked, as an organization, whether or not we want to support the TCAP's bond proposal. And so I wanted to take the temperature of the board to see how y'all feel
How
about
you
it.
define support and did they support others?
I don't believe we asked for support from community partners. I don't think we did.
Not formally.
No. So. I don't know.
I'm a no.
I would be a no.
I'm not there. 3-1?
No.
4-0?
We will stay.
I would rather stay on.
That's a huge amount.
What are you gonna gain from it? I was
Well,
thinking, am I gonna gain anything from
That's
this?
We individually want to go out there and do
What's that? You might say no.
You know, you look at them like, oh,
Well, yes.
we don't care about the kids, but-
You can't.
Anyway, okay, thank you for that. And the other issue, so this is a topic we would have previously taken to the finance oversight team, but since we've disbanded the finance oversight team for this year, wanted to have a discussion with the full board and today's instance, the four of you. It is. So the public infrastructure is the sewer and water that we've installed for the new facility. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, there were some issues related to the turning over of the public infrastructure. And that really had to do more with the checklist of items that are required to be in place and all of the easements lining up with the placement of the lines. We've worked through that. That's all well and good. The other piece that's outstanding, and you've heard about this multiple times over the last year, but what has happened is a year ago, well, this goes back several years, we have been looking at how to cost share that public infrastructure with the adjacent properties for at least 3 years. And the township often refers to the document that would specify who's going to pay what as a lateral agreement. So we've talked about a lateral agreement. There are different bases on which you can split the cost sharing up. One method is based on projected usage on REUs, and another method is based on the frontage feet of the infrastructure itself. We received memos from the township's engineering firm that date back to 2021, I think, outlining the two different methodologies, and that they're, if we all independently could have installed our own infrastructure, or we could take a collaborative approach and cost share that. Fast forward to a year ago, the Housing Commission and BATA, because now we were at the time to start installing the infrastructure, right? So we're like, we still don't have this lateral agreement. It was very unclear as to who should be taking the lead to create that lateral agreement. It always seemed to me like it should be the township, but the township wasn't doing that. And we don't have leverage over the other project partners, the adjacent property owners. So that didn't really seem like the avenue that was going to get the lateral agreement done. So Tony Lenti and I executed a memorandum of understanding to cost share the infrastructure, which was estimated at roughly 1.2 million at that time. In fact, I'm just going to pause there, hand out this document, but gets into a lot of the numbers of it, but. So the original, I don't have copies for everybody, but. I'm gonna get through with that one, Justin. One more. So the original MOU between Beta and the Housing Commission was based on the REU methodology of cost sharing. And so that meant 84%, well, essentially Beta's percentage was 16%, and all of the other adjacent properties comprised the remaining 84%. The Housing Commission was willing to pay the 84% upfront and be the receiving entity of the other tie-ins as those tie-ins took place, and collect those fees as that agency. Why did they do that? I don't know. I can't tell you why that they were interested in doing that, other than I think that sometimes with the way that they're funded, it's better to pay the capital expense of the infrastructure. They have different funding mechanisms to pay for different things. And if they can pay for the infrastructure and then collect the tie-in fees, then I'm guessing, I'm really probably shouldn't, I'm kind of wading into an arena. I just won't say what I think, but there was a benefit to the Housing Commission to do that way. However, then that director left and a new director came in, and he looked at the MOU and said, how did we end up with this $1 million bill essentially on the infrastructure? And so we started looking at it again. And while the REU basis is certainly, it was supplied by the township has since come forward and said, we didn't agree to the REU methodology, and we're not going to collect from the other properties on that method. And so we want you to go off of the collaborative approach method, which is a different percentage split. And that's how we intend to charge the other adjacent property owners. So, and then in addition to that, our original $1.2 million MOU cost really did not adequately capture all of the associated engineering and inspection fees. And it also included the water in that split. And that's become a bone of contention because the water is not typically split on REUs. That would be more of a frontage-based split. So it's a mess. I will summarize it as that. What is on the table today is what I passed out to you here, where the sewer is broken out to be the $873,189 in its entirety. The water is $460,106 in its entirety. The property owners splitting the cost of the sewer are broken down in the first section there. And those would be the individual project components. And then the water cost sharing, the Housing Commission and Beta, I verbally agreed to split that 50-50 if we're not going to go the REU methodology. And that brings Beta's total to $439,618.36 on total cost of both of those. So I wanted to just bring it to the board's attention because, first of all, we have a receivable on our books that is based on the full original MOU projection. And that receivable is going to need to be modified by about $238,000, right? Justin?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. What's remaining? So one option is that we put the MOU as is in place. It's a legal document. It was signed by both agencies. And we legally try to, and I've been working with Rich's colleague on this situation a little bit over the last few weeks. We could certainly try to uphold the MOU. I mean, it is a legally enforceable document. What does that do to their project right now, their timeline, our potential certificate of occupancy? As we know, it's all PIBAR. I'm not sure what's motivating the township to want to change the methodology at this point. But regardless, that's what they're doing. So.
With this the new way, we're looking at 439,000 plus. The old way, we were looking at 341,000 plus. With the MOU.
Just follow.
If I or
The 209 interest.
well, the 201 and this one comes to 341, 437 on my count depends. And the new approach with the breakdown of beta at 24%, beta 50% later, that comes out to 439, 618.
Mm-hmm.
If we take that 341 off there, we're looking at $98,571 difference. Plus pennies. But
Yeah, I think what I tried to do was look at it on page 2. You can kind of see where if it was just the original MOU totally sewer and water based on the REUs, yes, Beta would have had 201. If we take out the water, because that seems
take up. Right.
yeah, if we take out the water component because of that, maybe shouldn't have been associated with the original MOU. Then that difference comes down to about 70,000, 69,850. You have a question, Rich?
Well, I was thinking because you're working with Emily on that, so I know enough to be dangerous. But if we hold to the original MOU, then we're talking about litigation potentially,
Right.
and so one of the things you have to kind of factor in is litigation costs on top of that. So
and delay a project.
And delay a project.
Just like that. This has to resolve CFO.
Right.
Yeah. So.
That's the one we can remind about, right? Which one they were saying?
Well, no, I mean, what they were reminding us of is that the housing commission needs to break ground before we grant it. Yeah, so they're scheduled to break ground on June 24th.
It's gonna be a shovel in the ground, but that's it.
Yeah.
So does everybody agree to the schedule this one?
Well, it's not been circulated for signatures yet. So that's the next step would be for the township to issue a special action memo. This is their split though, the 24, 27 and a half, those numbers came from.
So what I'm saying, if we had water, this was with water, the 201 was with water, wasn't it?
Yes.
So we're looking at our 237,000, but we're also looking at months of possibly litigation, and we're also looking at 5 months of not getting into a building.
Mhm.
And now we're looking at several months of leasing buildings longer. We're trying to work out agreements where we can lease buildings longer.
Mhm.
You never know what's going to say, yeah.
How much under budget?
It's pretty close. I mean, we have the 800 in there, I think, so. But did we modify that to less?
Jerry hasn't updated it.
Oh, it hasn't been updated last one. I thought we talked about bringing that down.
And then all the entities have to do the water cost.
Not all of the entities have to do with water.
I mean, I say when you look at the time, you look at litigation, you look at the months of delay. I mean, great case scenario, you're looking at 6 months delay.
Mhm.
I mean, that's if everything goes well. You're probably looking at more along 12 to 18 months.
Mhm.
And I think we almost have to just move forward with the 439 total. I mean, I hate to say that because it's not
Mhm.
significant or $2,200 for 225,000, whatever.
The thing about it is that both are correct. Both methodologies are correct. It's not really that one is right and one is wrong. It's both. It's just
No, it's just how they figure them. They can figure
Yeah.
it different ways.
Yeah.
And stuff. And this way we get the shorter end of the stick, but also,
Mhm.
you know, in past too, it's usually like the end user that pays for it up front. Which
Mhm.
I think how that water line, because it comes up with Rainier,
Mhm.
doesn't come from the south, we're considered the end user. So a lot of times what's happened in the past, the end user pays for everything up front, and then they get reimbursed by the other entities as they look into it for their portion.
Mhm.
You know, so I mean, long term, that situation could have cost us a lot more money
Yeah.
and everything. And I mean, I'm not one to say spend money, but I also know what for $230,000 difference by the time we litigate it,
Mhm.
you know, dump $100,000 into litigation, and then if we come out to find out we have to go by this anyway, well, then we just cost ourselves the whole time money.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts are this is just as one person here, but I say it's not worth the battle. It's not worth the bad press with the housing commission or anything like that. It's not worth delays, especially if we're looking at 6, 12, 18 months delay. And then we don't have a building to go to because we've sold other buildings and everything. And you factor that cost in, lease and everything, it'd be damn near a break even point at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. And the offer that has been made verbally and confirmed in an email, but not put into a written document yet, is that the township will front data for these other tie-in properties. So like Village at Lafreniere.
Yeah.
They're a ways out. They're not tying in anytime soon. So the township will carry that 179,000.
Yeah, so when they tell you they're paying the township instead of paying Beta.
Right.
So I think it's clean.
Yeah.
With my experience working,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the time we argue about this, we're gonna break even on. I mean, that's my take.
Had it a long time ago.
Yeah. So.
Well, your attorney says, this can go into litigation, you might not want to do that. I was sold. I was sold back then.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I just, it's a cluster for sure. And it's not a super great outcome for us, but it's also, it's complex and there are a lot of.
Well, it's complex, but like I said, by the time we litigate it, just to find out that we end up having to pay this anyway, or just the potential delays and all the added costs with that, or trying to renegotiate lease extensions and those things. We can save a lot of egg on the face by just moving forward with this. All right.
Yeah. Okay, great. We will work towards that end. That's all I have. For discussion topics today.
The other, think not.
I just wanted to ask, how much are the financials in this month?
Was that income statement, Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it was in the consent
Yeah,
this
Oh,
month.
on the truck, if you go to that page, if they have anything in there. And I guess if they go over it, oh, nothing.
yeah. And not the full suite, this business quarterly.
Right.
Second public comment. Director, comments or announcements, open floor, any other things that you want to discuss in the front? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you.